Howdy, y'all. I'm happy to be here with you again. This time, we get to discuss the ORJI cycle. We find this in Humble Inquiry. The O stands for observe, the R stands for react, the J stands for judgment, the I stands for intervention. We take a look at this through the lens of conversations, communication, and internal processing of information. When we take into consideration the cycle, we go through observe. What do we see? What does it mean to us what we see? Which leads us to our react. Are we emotionally reacting? Are we responding in a physical manner? What is it that we're going to do when we see this and when we start to react in a way? And the next one is judgment. What do we find this to be? What does this mean to us? What do we think it is? What are we claiming it to be? That judgment is a point in the process where we finalize our thoughts on such a thing. And with that, we lead on to intervention. What do we do about it? How do we take on the next step? What are we trying to resolve within that conceptualization of what it is? And with that, it's story time. I'll give a brief summary or story about a situation that I'm a part of where I fall short and finding out and taking control or ownership of my process within that time and what I discovered. So the story goes, one day I came home, and when I came home, I saw that the furniture was rearranged. And the first thing I observed was everything's moved, but it looks great. I observed something that I liked and enjoyed. It was pretty cool. Then came the reaction. Why did everything move and nobody told me it was going to be moved? Started feeling a little slighted, started feeling little negative thoughts, which led to my judgment. And that judgment was, if they didn't tell me, there must be a reason for it. And then I started to rationalize or try to make sense of the reasonings. And I started to think like, oh, they thought I was going to be oppositional to this change. In which I may have some feedback for them, but when I looked at it and what I observed was pretty good. And then after my judgment, my thought process on what it was to be, my intervention was having a talk with everybody, and not a candid talk, more of a lecture. This lecture was where I also found the inappropriate part. I could have had a simple conversation to go over what happened, why it happened, and what to make of it. But instead, it was trying to relay something that I learned, like through my academic studies, about incorporating or including people in decision making, so they can feel ownership, and then the likeliness of that change or initiative to be sustainable. Is more likely if people are bought into it. So I went into it that way instead of it being a more like down to earth personal conversation with the people that I'm living with. And yeah, so it didn't really fly. And through that process, I thought to myself, like, I was slighted. There's a reason, it's probably me. And also going about it in another inappropriate way about how I discussed it or talk down to them, like I was teacher and they were students, and that's not how you do when you're living together. So for me, it was a challenge and something that I wanted to work on. After we talked about it, we came back together and we made resolutions, and I learned that the reason it was changed is because we were going to have a function, a family party actually, and that also that I reacted saying that they didn't tell me why they lived me out, but they actually did try to reach out, but I was working and they couldn't get a hold of me. And then, like I said, we resolved it and we talked on a different level, and it went smoothly. So there's a lot to work on, and in all that, and I'm happy to share it. And yeah, if you guys have any advice or questions about the scenario, please feel free to ask, and I'm happy and willing to learn. So thank you so much for your time.